Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another scene set in Werewolf the Apocalypse, right across New York. Today, we're having a very, very open scene in a very open park during a very open day because I'm going to assume the sun is out and shining. It's almost as if the weather is pleasant. And during this lovely day, Jacob is out and about on the sept, in a well-protected area, probably on the lawn somewhere, and is just really relaxing after making his brief howl about wanting help for a very specific endeavor about killing spirals. Something we can all get behind, I think. A lovely, absolutely lovely community activity. And yes, that is where we'll set the scene.
Okay. There is a little cop who is gonna show up.
Little
Poof.
cousin.
Little cousin. Yes. And yeah, she'll approach Jacob and yeah, kind of looks around, and as there's no one there, she will not go through all the things of kneeling and stuff because for fuck's sake.
He's having an arrow chocolate
They
bar.
were in the kiddie pool together. That is just weird.
Suck it up, Buttercup.
So yeah, she'll kind of wave. It's like, hey, Jakey.
Hey, cousin. What's up? He says as he eats his chocolate bar.
She looks at that chocolate bar. It's like, mm. But yeah, she'll just go sit down next to him, and it's like, not much. I was kind of wondering why you were howling, except for quite the obvious. But since I heard you, I thought I'd come here. Actually, I do have a message for you.
Interesting. Who's it from?
You ever met someone called Swift Runner, I believe? In a restaurant a little outside of New York.
Go on.
Well, we met him, and he reminded me that you still have a book to give him.
Oh, yeah. That was
So yeah.
quite a long time ago.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
in the middle of the hellhole.
Mhm.
I was there when the deal was made. So yep. Guess I'm doing that now. Yep. Well, I do honor my promises, or in this case, other people's. So I'll do it.
Well, if I can help out.
Well, the problem is it requires us getting very close to the throne where Meijin and Kana sits on. So we either need a very, very good distraction or someone very, very good at sneaking around. I was in a position to take it last time, but for some reason it would seem fit that the decision had to be forced that it was either we leave or I literally take 1 second out of my day to grab the fucking book. Wherein the mission where we accomplished nothing and more or less unilaterally failed for about a dozen different reasons.
I remember that. But yeah, just saying that he still he didn't seem mad about it or anything, or maybe he just wasn't mad about it because we just fucking saved his life. But
That
yeah.
helps. Ten,
Mhm.
our relationships with the Pharaoh can be, well, the other Pharaoh can be quite tense. So helping them out, it's
Yeah, he
good
had
to keep
this
things from
kind of book.
deteriorating.
It's kind of weird. He had this book, and apparently that book was sort of uh, magic, and it made him fall asleep. And then there was a worm creature. That's when we came upon him, and I bit the head off the worm creature.
Well, from what I understand, it is a book about wormish knowledge. I'm a bit concerned about what the Bastet would want to do with it. But considering we have societies of our own in the nation that traffic in such material, I'm not exactly going to stand up and say no.
I think that would be rather rude after you made a promise to him.
As I said, oh, this does tie in rather neatly into the howl I made earlier, but I guess it depends on how things go. I might have to consider it a separate assignment entirely.
Yeah, I also have some information to share with the class, but I promised to do it in a proper story, so I'm still writing it. It's like I got permanent writer's block or something. Every time I try to start a story, I just don't know how to finish it.
Well, I mean, makes sense. You're a psychologist, not an author. Need time to
True.
grow into that specific skill set.
Yeah, I guess, but I did take like in high school, I took like creative writing as a class, but it's just difficult to recall all the facts, especially when you're like also trying to fight and do stuff at the same time. It's almost like you need an extra set of eyes on or something. Maybe you should just walk around with a tape recorder.
Jacob considers that, as presumably other people wander on over.
Yeah, Saoirse shows up shortly after Robin does. She certainly hasn't been in the best of spirits lately, but there is a certain calmness about her today as she approaches.
Yeah,
Yes,
Robin
yeah,
will
sure.
lean backwards, doing the throat thing.
she she looks down at Robin. Stand up. It's fine.
Okay, she'll sit back up again.
I heard your I heard your response to my how.
He
I
nods.
appreciate the assistance.
Of course. Not a problem at all. It's a threat to the sept is a threat to all of us, and no matter what happens, duties must be carried out.
Mm. That, and it seems that for whatever reason, taking out spirals is something that we can all get behind. How's your day been so far?
All right, I suppose. I spent the majority of it with in the Umbra, taking care of the shrines.
Jacob just kind of nods at this. That's why I was saying which motion, but it's like just, yeah, fairly casual nod. Fair enough. I should really tend to reindeer shrine now. I think.
She nods.
The whole thing will be getting far less attention, far less than it deserves in the near future.
She looks at Robin and acknowledges her. Hello, Robin.
Hello, Sir Shiraya.
Good to see you.
Likewise. How have you been?
That sort of complicated, but I'm surviving. She nods.
Yeah. I'm sorry to hear about your pack.
Yeah. She shakes her head.
Weird timing that two of the longest standing packs of the sept would be disassembled at the same time.
I know. I'm sure people are probably wondering why I didn't go with them, but there's a complicated answer to that too.
Well, I could have gone with Chloe when she decided to leave the sept. I didn't.
That's true.
Some people are settled. Packs as intimate as they can be do come and go.
They do. Now the second pack I've lost. I'm sure I'll find another one eventually. I'm not looking to jump right into another pack. Shakes her head.
Not particularly pleased with how mine ended, to be honest. And considering the task I've been given, it seems like the disassembly of my pack seems to have been entirely pointless. I'm not sure if you know what happened, or if you'd heard. I know gossip tends to travel pretty quickly around here.
She shakes her head. Not really. If you'd like to tell me, I'd be willing to listen.
Jacob kind of considers this very carefully. It seems like he's kind of weighing this decision in his head.
Mm-hmm. Especially since these two haven't particularly gotten along in the past. So
no, they've had a fairly distant relationship.
Uh-huh.
Perhaps not as intense as with with her other former packmates, but
Oh no,
I would
they've
say
never been close.
I don't like it when lives end pointlessly. Same issue I had with Shinlo.
I'll nod.
The whole going out in a blaze of glory, yet the people still around really don't register any significant difference. And instead, we're just down another garou with nothing really having changed.
She nods at that.
I understand like the importance of glory in our culture, but it has to be defined by some sort of reason. Throwing ourselves at the enemy without thought or reason, simply to assuage our egos or guilt, doesn't solve anything in the long run, nor does it redeem the individual who feels so afflicted with guilt in the first place.
I agree with that.
And it's fairly hypocritical for me to say, considering I've literally had to execute people in the past.
But it hadn't been needlessly. And I'm sure it wasn't an easy decision for you to make. Never should be easy to decide to kill somebody.
No. But it could be argued that some of the judgments I've been involved in did not change anything or enough. I suppose it depends on the case. But then again, I'm about as progressive as they come.
She smiles.
Very much aware that my views aren't necessarily shared by the rest of the nation. It is what it is. Everybody else can introduce themselves now.
Yes.
Why are there cars on this? Hi, cars.
Oh,
Vroom, vroom, motherfucker. Cammy will make her way up. Kind of dressed to the appropriate weather. It's damp. It's slightly warm, but slightly still chilly. So she's still got the hat on, but she's not wearing the jacket as per normal. And she finds a rock to sit on nearby the other three garou. Lights up a cigarette and crosses her legs, sort of into a lotus style, and begins to take a puff before looking up at the three of them, and just raises her chin ever so slightly, but doesn't say much beyond that. until the awkward silence makes her say something.
Yeah, Jacob would just stare at you expectantly.
She's got her chin up to show throat.
Oh yeah, he's fine, right? He just so that's fine. How you doing?
Yeah, Saoirse will acknowledge her as well.
Busy week for a lot of people.
Saoirse just nods.
Pardon me, is this where the discussion on the Black Spiral transfers is taking place?
Yeah. If I'm ask, who are you? Who are you exactly? We haven't been introduced.
You'll see that he's about 6 foot tall, slightly muscular. He's obviously Native American. In appearance, he's wearing just a plain white t-shirt, a light jacket, and some jeans. Pardon me, I'm new to the Sept. I'm Ancestors Fire.
You'll wait.
If you hadn't heard my howl before, I'm Arum Cleoth from Tribe Utina.
Alright. That's probably your Sept at the time, sorry. Uniform. He just kind of shakes the colour of his police uniform. Yes, no, I'm Jacob Clay. Homid Philodox. Silverfang. Adrian.
Upon
Also
hearing
the
that, he
master-
exposes his throat in submission.
Also the Master of Challenges for the Sept in particular.
And I am Saoirse O'Brien, Grimm's the Huntsman's Fury. I am a Galliard of the Fiona, Homid-born, Adrian of the Nation, and Tailsinger of the Sept.
He'll also expose his throat to her.
She'll tap it.
I hadn't been here very long when I heard the howl requiring the death of our enemies, and I figured, from being from the full moon, this is where I belong.
Saoirse will smile softly at that and give a slight nod, like, yep.
Yes, I think you'll find the Sept is quite active when it comes to manhandling the worm. We are in the middle of the city, so you'll find no shortage of things to throw yourself at.
Sounds
On this
exciting.
episode, we're going to be killing some spirals. Not today. I just called the How to let everyone know, see who was interested in volunteering. I'm not the wormthor or the warder, but the task has been assigned to me to organize a group to deal with the issue. Done a bit of prep work beforehand. We're in for a challenge.
Have any other Aruns heeded the call?
Not in so far. We've got 2 galleons, but his hands on like the shoulders of the 2 galleons, so probably just standing next to him. And myself and Cammy Viege. No Aruns. We are short on Aruns. One recently left. He says that, sounding a bit disgruntled.
Oh, no need to worry. I'll make myself useful.
Yes. When it comes to dealing with these particular spirals, we're going to want to be careful. When I say I did prep work, I mean I did not consult Guy personally on the issue, but I do have some capabilities where she lends me a portion of her insight. And I had some prior knowledge on one particular Sparrow who's organizing the others. Is the brother of my former packmate. They're very organized, very professional. They're very good at what they do. I would warn away from a direct confrontation. At least not one where you go to the hellhole itself. Jesus.
Because who likes their... I mean, who really does enjoy a nice mindfuck, right?
Well, even outside of that, I was given some surprisingly clear visions about what would happen if we were to engage in a direct assault, and it ends badly for pretty much all of us.
Jacob Raya. There's something I think you should know.
Shoot.
Well, we went out of the sept. The cubs. To investigate, and we found out that according to some of our sources, the worm is moving, and the Ratkin are very scared of something big happening. Apparently, there's an army of worm creatures going north. And
North.
yes, and they're those who are basically pulling the strings on all of this. They're occupying all the septs in the neighborhood to make sure that no one sees what goes on. They are sending, well, worm spirits, worm creatures,
Veins.
and black spirals
Okay.
and such. So they're sending them to the septs to
To
basically
this sept?
hide what's going on. The sept as well, yes. This is why we have so many spirals at the moment.
Do we know their
Because
general trajectory? You said they were heading north.
That's all I know.
It's a worryingly large-scale stratagem.
I agree. We also found more news about this company that, when we were hunting with the Den Father, that, captured us. Iago, it's called. Apparently,
Sorry?
it's also a worm-infested corporation.
Iago.
Group called Iago.
Iago.
Yes. They're operating on a global scale, and they work a lot with medicine. Mostly protocols and stimulating certain medication to be used in certain areas. Or at least that's their cover.
Wouldn't surprise me if they're connected to Magadon then. Both seem to operate in the same circles.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess if there is any sept that is equipped and expected to deal with that sort of situation, it would be us.
I don't know how many septs there are in the neighborhood, but
Not
maybe
many.
it would be a good idea to contact them.
I'll do so. Most of them exist largely outside of the cities, so they're not going to feel the impact like we do.
I'm not sure
But I'll
if this army is
definitely.
heading north.
I do have contacts in pretty much every nearby sept, so I'll give them all a ring and let them know.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm still writing up a proper story about it, but I figured this was information that you might want to have already.
Oh no! Do not delay the spread of information because of artistic flair.
Saoirse will nod at that. Like, no, if it's urgent, then spread it as soon as possible. You can tell a proper story later, but make sure that the right information gets where it needs to go.
Well, this then. I wasn't quite sure if I still had to note it down on the Wormfoes board, so.
Should. But
The warder is informed. We went out on his behalf. We had permission.
I guess the two garou on the set most equipped to deal with wicks would be me and you, Cammy.
Cammy shrugs.
I mean, I run a police precinct, so
I do have ties to the medical worlds of New York.
that would be useful. I mean, it can at least give us mundane information as to Yargo's movements and Magadon's. Obviously, won't let us in on the spiritual or supernatural elements of it, the stuff they keep underneath the table, as it were. But it will help us kind of get a general idea of what is happening and how they're trying to set the tone, as it were.
Yeah.
So, corporation, worm infested. Sounds like a good idea to go snooping for dirt on the web.
Seems like it.
Look at that, finding it to be useful.
Apparently, Yago doesn't have any official headquarters in New York City.
Well, a lot of multinational corporations have their official headquarters in tax havens, like the Cayman Islands.
Well, I mean, let's just say that they had a building in New York City, or the vicinity of it, and it mysteriously got burned down after we made our escape.
Oh, that was probably one of our own then. We have a...
That was us.
That was probably us.
That was us. That was
Saoirse,
me.
Saoirse's like
you left.
Mysteriously burnt down. I've mysteriously, she air quotes, mysteriously burnt down a few buildings in my time as well. Well, not.
Yeah, it is. I really should look into alternatives. Very, very easy way to track the point.
Actually, one time I ran a truck into a factory and exploded it. That was good.
Robert is kind of giving Jacob the your dim look.
Attack than straight answer.
It was just an old factory explosion. That's how it was spun in the media. Driver fell asleep at the wheel, ran into the building. Boom.
What happened to the driver?
She smiles.
Well, I just want the record to show that I'm all for vehicular mayhem.
You big on cars?
Very much so, yes.
She'll raise a brow. I've got two of the biggest gearheads I've ever met in my pack. You should get to know them.
I'm down for meeting fellow gearheads.
Ooh, do we have a pack devoted to those mechanical death machines now?
Sure, why not? I'm sure that there's got to be at least some totem out there that emphasizes those sorts of things.
I thought your tribe would be the most likely to have them. No.
Mine are possibly rats, if I had to take a guess, as far as being tied to machines in the city. That's probably the best place to start.
Upon hearing Kailani's voice, Saoirse turns toward her. Kailani?
She'll flip onto her back. Tail singer.
I haven't seen you in a while.
I've been around.
I'll let her up. Give her a pet on the back of her neck.
She'll roll back onto her stomach.
Have you been rummaging in the Evermeal again?
Yes.
You say it like that, like it's a bad thing.
It depends.
Saoirse has a cute smell, so she's kind of like,
Ooh, yeah. Mm.
so she'll step back away from Kailani.
Jacob just says, "Well, it depends. Do you have a shower?" If you do, then sure, no big. If you don't, not exactly right up my alley, if I'm being completely honest.
I'll go for a swim in them at some point.
Robin actually looks kind of curious at Kailani because she's heard of her. She never met her.
No. You just visiting Kailani, or did you hear my howl?
Oh, I came for the big important meeting.
Cool. Well, actually just been a meet and greet so far, but I guess I should get that more down to business. So we're going up against a very dangerous set of spirals who aren't your typical group of meatheads. And I've told everybody else here, Kailani, but I've been very much informed by the powers that be that conventional warfare is not going to work on them. So we're going to have to take a different approach. I have a few ideas.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know that when something is spiritually awakened, it has a presence both in the Telerian and the Umbra?
I know. What? Of course. What are you getting at there?
She'll just set her spider satchel down, and she'll kind of reach into it all the way up to her shoulder, kind of leaning in. She's kind of got like her tongue in between her lips as she's fishing around. And she's like, "Oh, there's a Twinkie." So she comes up first with a Twinkie, and then she reaches back down and she pulls out what looks to be a commercial camera drone and sets it on the rock that she's sitting on.
I was going to ask about intelligence gathering. Good to see you one step ahead of the game.
Who do you think got all that intelligence on the hellhole before we went in?
Fair point.
Went unconventional warfare. You hit them in ways that they're not used to fighting back against. For all the advancements that the nation as well as the worm have made, they still fight. We all still fight in a fairly archaic way.
I was thinking about finding a way to lure them into a trap.
Well, the city is full of nooks and crannies, and the Weaver doesn't much like the worm any more than we do.
No.
So Saoirse makes a bit of a realization. Like, she looks to both of them and she's like, I think I'm one of the only garou that's still here after the last assault on the hellhole. Everyone else is either dead or gone.
Probably dead. Well, no. Some of them live.
To be honest, I think most of us actually survived that encounter.
We did. We only lost Finlow.
Hmm.
But since then, everyone else has either died or left.
To my knowledge, most of us just moved on. But I suppose there's something that can be discussed later. Right now we should focus on dealing with these spirals. So, you have a camera drone. That's very helpful. Because I was going to ask, I didn't really exactly want to take us into a hellhole to gather information because we don't even know where these guys live.
Well,
or what they do in particular, other than general spiral things.
The thing about it is that this little thing here can cover quite a bit of ground. If I had more of them, they could cover a lot more ground.
I mean, I run a precinct. I have a small army of these things. Like, I'm exaggerating a bit, but I have quite a few of them locked away in my precinct.
Well, if some of them were to suddenly show up as damaged and written off, it would be greatly appreciated. Also, if you're not doing anything, I could hand you a flash drive with a very specific update for your computer systems that might be able to help with looking into things across the city.
Depends on the legality of that software.
It would be 100% illegal, Jacob, right?
Yeah. So I could use that personally for obviously our place. I likely would not be able to implement that into the precinct's own software systems because one, that goes through a lot of stuff to begin with. Obviously, I don't implement that myself, and a lot of faces would be turning if I gave someone that software and I wanted to implement it, or anyone wanted to implement it.
Do you have a computer, Jacob, right at your desk?
Oh yeah, I do.
Can you plug a flash drive into it?
Yeah, my point is I just don't want it traced back to my precinct.
They would never know.
I certainly hope not.
She'll kind of lean forward with a smirk on her face, and she just kind of eyes up Jacob. She doesn't stare him directly in the eye, but she's kind of got that, pseudo eye contact that garou kind of have to have. Because if they do direct eye contact, it's a challenge. And she's just got this, this smug look on her face. I've cracked the city's infrastructure 6 or 7 times now since I've been here, and no one's found me. No one has been able to find my back doors. And, well, I've noticed that the city doesn't have any sort of spiritually awakened means of encryption. If I have an easy access in, I can make the entire city's computer network mine. I just need having an entry point that's on the inside would make things infinitely easier. With that kind of access, I could access every computer or every computer-controlled camera in the city. And if I'm in the Umbra, well, we could see what's going on there, too.
When it comes to how to put it, the mass collection of security footage, that facility is not at my precinct. I could trivially get access to the facility where that is at, because often these things are housed in separate facilities, not in the stations themselves.
You'd be surprised how much
usually
everything...
for the sake of efficiency and the sort of being able to put it all in one place rather than all over.
Well, you'd be surprised. Outside of federal systems, not much in the way of municipalities really compartmentalize their servers. They're all linked.
I'm just talking from personal experience. Oh, see, I'm just referencing the fact that in Southampton, all our security footage is gathered in Winchester. Yeah, a facility called Central. But yeah. Well, I'll defer to your expertise on the matter. I know the some basics when it comes to coding and computer cracking, but I'm no practitioner of active practitioner of the craft. So
yeah, you can always do that.
If you need a point of access, I mean, I got you at least 3 off the top of my head. So,
well, I could always visit you at work at some point.
Probably behind bars.
Just be a friend that came in.
Well, there are more information we can gather on worm entities to get better, and the more means we have of doing that, the better. So I'll help you on that, and hopefully it works towards our goal of dealing with these spirals. Yeah, so I was looking towards luring them to a location that we have set up to serve as effectively a kill zone. The issue is getting them there to begin with. Because obviously, let's say we are performing some minor rites on the area to extend our control over it. If it's not considered a significant enough issue, we're probably just going to send some Banes over. or some lesser spirals, their subordinates. Pawns on the board, as it were. So it needs to be something that at least appears overt and significant. It doesn't necessarily have to be a tool. In fact, it'd probably be better for us if it wasn't, because then there's less risk for us.
Well, any good trap needs bait.
Funnily enough, my former packmate would have served wonderfully in that role.
Saoirse snorts a little bit, like, wow.
It's true, though. You've
It is.
blood relation, they hate each other.
You know, I.
What do you mean by bait?
Jacob Raya,
Mm-hmm.
what if they don't know that he left? And we just keep the illusion that he's there? Can we make someone look like him?
Maybe.
I'm sure you have some old clothes that may smell like him.
The only problem with that is that if they use any kind of rite similar to the questing stone,
Is there a way we can fool that?
I've been trying to figure that out for the past 5 years.
Perhaps a spirit? Maybe just temporarily?
Yeah.
Aren't those rites taught by spirits or
Here's the
gifts
thing.
taught by spirits?
They do want Simon dead. The problem is, I don't know what's happened to Simon, and he literally went off to go get back Magda and take on his brother. If he actually was true to his word on that...
He's probably dead.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And they will know that.
In that case, yes. Sorry.
That was a good
wasn't aware of that.
suggestion. Just one we can't apply in this case.
Did he perhaps own something that was important to them?
I believe we have his photo. That's it.
I really doubt the photo of him would be important. I was thinking if this is like maybe a family heirloom or something.
I don't think so. Not that he ever told me. I think the most he ever gave to his seekers was his photo, like photos and such. So not a great deal. It also has to be a location they seem at least they would feel comfortable going to, because obviously they're not just going to turn into their criminal swarm in the middle of the street. That's as bad for them as it is for us. So it has to be some place that's remote enough for them to feel comfortable going to and attacking us directly. At the same time, it has to be an area that we are able to control to an extent, to manipulate to our advantage.
How about that laboratory of Yago that we burned down? It might even mask some of our scents.
Potentially.
Pretty worm tainted.
It might be wise of us to feed them with false information. So far, I'm very much aware that the Sparrows are winning this information war. To my knowledge, they aren't aware of Cammy's activities, at least according to Cammy.
Not yet, anyway.
Not yet. I mean, I was doing much the same thing, but they appear to be catching on to me now.
Well, there's traitors from every tribe, so...
It's not just that. As I enter as my face becomes more public, and as my activities are fairly consistent in that they're against their own, and become more overtly targeted, they're going to be able to put two and two together eventually. And they seem to be aware that I am in fact a garou and not a kin. I was hoping I could fool them into making them think I was a kin, but it doesn't seem like it. But
So we need, what you're saying is, A, wherever we draw them to needs to be a place that we can control the flow of battle. B, it has to be, there has to be bait enough that it would draw a significant number of their force, or at least the highest quality of their force, if not quantity.
There are several ways we could do that. We could make it look like we're doing something there, have something of value that they want there, or just make it an area we already control well appear very vulnerable.
I'm
So we have at
gonna
least three options into how to bait them in.
roll Cammy's intelligence plus rituals to see if she can know a thing. She doesn't have any fucking clue. She fucking botched.
Oh shit, what's she trying to come up with?
It doesn't matter now. She just kind of goes cross-eyed.
There are... We could make it appear as if we are committing towards several rites. They're all fairly powerful and complex in nature, though. Of course, we don't necessarily have to be performing them, just give off the display that we are. For example, the very rite that was used to cleanse the bloodbanes in the River of Blood from, well, many months ago now. No, part of me was thinking one of the local parks because we have more control over those areas, but at the same time, the fairly open areas, it's harder for us to take control of the environment unless we set it up in advance. But we don't want to be too overt in there. It's very much a balancing act. I mean, for my part, I'm more likely to just be sitting on top of a building near the park with a sniper rifle in hand. By the way, Cammy, are you capable of manufacturing silver ammunition? I just need one mag of it.
Huh? What? I'm sorry, I kind of stopped paying attention 3 minutes ago. I realized how hungry I was. I could really go for some chimichangas right about now. Hey, Jacob Raya. I didn't see you there. What's up?
Yeah, I was just asking about silver ammunition.
I have to get permission from
I figured.
the warder before I even think about doing something like that, and I'm only just now getting used to the skill of making bullets.
Normally, I wouldn't ask for something like that. I mean, obviously, I'm very confident in my skills of swordsmanship, but again, I'm kind of heeding advice from powers that know much more about the situation than I do. So,
If you can get permission for me to do it, I wouldn't mind doing it for you, as long as a few of those magazines that could be, or that, so long as we could do more than one magazine and more than just one caliber.
Jacob Raya,
mm-hmm.
do you think a cairnwright would draw them out?
Pardon?
A cairnwright. Like, if we were dedicating a new sept.
We could. That is... possible. We need a very suitable location for that.
They wouldn't buy it if we just did it willy-nilly somewhere.
Yes, but it would require a remote location, which does fit into our plan. And of course, if we wanted to even put on display, it would need to be a place we control. So, I mean, it definitely slots in. It ticks all the boxes. Or it's necessary for us to tick all the other boxes before we consider it. So it's definitely something we can look into. I mean, I'm just brainstorming here, but before we try anything, because frankly, we're not going to get a lot of shots at this, and we are going for something unconventional. The thing is, when a force does something unconventional, it then typically becomes conventional, because the enemy force will account for it in subsequent encounters.
You mean like how they
the first time?
You mean like how they'd account for us if we went on another suicide mission in there?
We can't continue doing the same thing. And in this case, I mean, we are. Well, I'm pushing to be as unconventional as possible, I suppose.
Well, why don't we see if we can't make a temporary alliance with, and she'll kind of point out to one of the buildings where a weaver or a pattern spider is just kind of doing its thing.
I am reticent because I remember the last time a deal with the weaver was made and almost wound up in a set being brought down and a stasis vector almost calcifying the cairn.
Well, that's why you would have to be very careful about how you worded it. The idea is
the Glasswalkers constructing a city cairn actually makes some degree of sense. In fact, didn't you have a place up in Millionaire Mile?
Amy just gets really quiet and sits down. I don't know what you're talking about.
I've literally been there.
No idea what you're talking about.
I was never there with the Prime Master challenges.
She just taps her fingers, completely ignoring the question.
It's not that like that.
So, City Cairn.
Communication? To be honest, that does seem like an option for us.
I mean,
the only issue is that for something a right that big, we need someone of the rank, right? To look as if they're even casting it at all. I mean, for a power, you actually need a great deal of garou, don't you? Because of the sheer amount of spiritual power involved. But we could make it appear to be something small. We don't have to go over cairn, right? We could make it as if, like, oh,
there's no other way to make a cairn.
Pardon?
There's no other way to make a cairn, Jacob.
This is what I mean. Like, for us, if we wanted to act as if we were doing that, I mean, that would require a great deal of garou and specific garou of specific rank. So it's going to be a lot harder to pull off. But
why don't we make them think that we're setting up fobs?
I mean, that was. Sorry, I see. What's that?
FOB, Forward Operating Base.
Ah, Jacob would know that because he has training. I'm done. Yeah, I mean that would make more sense, to be honest.
Start people doing it in the Tellurian. Do something that's relatively innocuous and work your way up from there. Might be actually a good way to get the Cubs, and she'll kind of gesture towards Robin. to get used to running in the city.
More training in the city wouldn't be a bad idea. We are surrounded by, he looks around, a huge one.
Yeah.
And
I
actually,
grew
it
up here.
would limit. I mean, if we're just using, for example, like an office building or something like that, it would actually limit the impact their numbers could have, because there are quite a few of them we're going to be taking on.
Well, I think something that could be something very innocuous, relatively cheap, and relatively useful would be an auto shop. You've got some pull in the sept, Jacob, right?
I mean, you're just pandering to gearheads, but I mean, yes.
Well, I know my audience, but what I'm saying is I'm not wrong, am I?
I will not contest.
So, I don't have that kind of money, unfortunately, because I'm working on a bit of a bigger project. But if we could get some resources pulled and get something down on a auto garage somewhere outside of the initial reach of, she'll kind of gesture around the park.
I was talking to Nimi about getting her an auto shop at some point.
Well, if you could get that authorized, Raya, you would have a pack of Bonars, Uktena, and Glasswalker, and Bonar and Uktena, in your debt.
There's another big brother here.
She'll nod. My packmate, Nimi Ragabash of your of your tribe.
She is
really
delightful.
great with deed names, though. Really great with deed names.
Why is the Ragabash giving deed names?
Because someone once told her that someone was handing those out like Skittles.
Ugh.
No, it was a complaint, not advice.
There's just smiles.
In any case, yeah, all that would take would be finding a location.
Somehow I get the feeling that Mimi probably already has a location in mind, but I'll double check with her.
Well,
If
I mean, it depends on whether it is towards or away from that hellhole.
I'm thinking about a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
I mean, we will want it to be south because it's not going to be very much of a forward operating base if it's north of the park, for example.
Queens, Brooklyn. What about northeast or southeast or directly east?
I'm not sure.
You afraid us little Cleus can't take care of ourselves, Raya? Your concern is overwhelming.
Not particularly concerned, considering you are moving largely away from the hellhole, which normally would be a very wise decision.
Well, if they're on Staten Island. Queens is closer to Staten Island than Manhattan is. Like, pretty wide margin.
I'll look into it. Well, I mean, we can hammer out all these details later. I mean, we've got the template of a plan now. It's just about making it... Well, I guess the question is, would Nimi be okay with turning that auto shop into a minor war zone and then having the worm be aware of it, more or less from the moment of its purchase?
We fought Simba in an attack helicopter War
I
has
don't need to
been
hear anything
apparently
else.
our war has been our Pax forte apparently.
I'm not going to question that.
I am a little bit like Simba
Actually,
from the movie.
No,
oh wait, you're
like
referring to the Pharaoh? Why were you fighting other Pharaoh?
because they were fighting us first.
Why?
Well, I mean, technically, we did murder them first, so.
I don't think that had anything to do with it. I think that they got a little bit too big for their britches, from what I understand, and they were all kind of like, "Hey, fuck everybody that isn't a Simba."
I'm going to ask about that when I next go back to the Sept of the Tars wheel.
Why don't you just ask Mimi? She spent a lot of time with the Ed Hottie.
Hmm.
I mean, we all did, but she got more acquainted with them than the rest of us.
Think I will. But
And she'll
anyways,
look over at Ancestor's Fire. You really need to come with me and meet the other two.
It sounds like I do.
anyways, we've got our location. Now it's just putting the carrot. What did I stick?
Another thing we should probably do
I
is
mean,
start getting.
What? Pardon? Cami?
Well, she'll kind of look up at Saoirse and then over to Kailani. She does have a sympathetic look on her face, but she kind of gives a shrug. It would probably be a good idea that if the three of you were to either start new packs with the new blood or form a pack of your own. I know it's still a pretty freshly open wound, but let's face it, we're stronger together in a pack unit than we are on our own.
Saoirse kind of swallows.
I mean, I know a thing or two about sorrow and being downtrodden, but at the same time, considering the situation we're in and what's going on in the Umbra, might have to put that aside for at least a little while. Besides, I took the temperature of the sept when I first got here. Not many of the packs were pretty chummy with each other.
Well, that's the
There
thing,
was
right? I mean, you say we work better together as a pack unit, but
The problem with
similar
packs
to
is
how, well, really all civilizations work to some extent. It's just the setting of separate boundaries.
Cammy will look over at Kailani.
the problem with packs is everybody either dies or leaves eventually.
Cammy will light another cigarette. Kailani, you've been in this sept a lot longer than I have. And she'll light it up and take a long drag out of it before looking at Kailani. People die. This is a war. I am almost certain that I'm going to see many more of my friends die. Many more people I care about die before it's my time to check out.
Of course, we all will, unless we're lucky enough to be the ones that die.
Point is that even in our worst states, we still have a duty to perform. And I'd hate to think about any one of you trying to tackle anything in the state the three of you are probably in, at least on some level, alone. Each one of you has had your guts ripped out in some way, shape, or form.
Anyone who wishes to follow Fox is welcome to join me.
Sorry, what did Carlani say there? You're a bit muffly.
Anyone who wishes to follow Fox is welcome to join me.
Follow
Fox.
Fox. Ah, okay.
Little orange canine, cute ears, even cuter tail.
Hmm.
Honestly, the cutest thing.
Mm-hmm. Sushi, your hair is orange like a fox.
He smirks.
Cammy
Listen.
winks.
I can't really say anything other than that connection is so bland.
Foxes and stag's brood.
I almost feel like it's a little bit stereotypical.
Cammy looks at the fact that she's got like a laptop, a drone, a gun, all sort of within arm's reach of her. Kind of shrugs her shoulders. I mean, I think stereotypes are really kind of really subjective at this point. I don't. Yeah. Cammy will
joining any pack, or at least any pre-existing one, is that obviously is one of the highest ranking garou on sept. I'm more or less obligated to gun for alpha position as soon as I reach it, which is, obviously would create a lot of friction on the outset.
Are you? I mean, are you really though? Like, you could say that you're obliged to, but you're smart. You've got.
As a meritocrat, yes.
But really, I mean, if you think about it, if you're willing to be able to say, well, that's a bit counterproductive, you're already kind of putting some objectivity into it. I mean, you're a half moon. That's what you're good at, right?
Well, there are a lot of ways one can debate it.
May I ask a question, Ryas?
Of course.
Why is it so important that Jacob Raya, Saoirse Raya, and Kailani Raya, she kind of probably struggles more with the name than the player does, given that she's never spoken that out loud. Why is it so important that they pack up together?
I didn't say together, but they should find.
With all due respect, Cammy, I'm a Fiona. I feel my emotions probably a little bit more than others do. I just lost my second pack in 8 months, and I am not looking to form a new one anytime soon. Now that's just something you're going to have to deal with.
As for me, Kalani literally left the pack I was in, so yeah.
Well, there is some history that I didn't know about.
Yeah, more or less walked into that one, didn't you?
Oh, yes, I think this is the first time we've actually spoken since then.
That's odd.
So I take it there's a lot of pack drama going on at the sept.
It's the nation. It is composed of drama. At the upper echelons, we call it politics.
Yeah, yeah.
Cammy just leans towards Ancestor's Fire and just kind of whispers, "There's a lot of drama. I'll show you the footage of the last mission later."
This is the most cosmopolitan sept in the world. The only exception might be some of the septs in the Amazon, and that's largely out of necessity more so than anything else. This sept was specifically designed to be as such. And because a lot of tribes don't always get along and have a lot of differing views, and the very fact that this sept is one of, if not the most progressive septs in the world, there are a lot of differing opinions on how the nation should work, on how things should be done, from everything from the macro political issues to just simple body language. It's how people speak to each other. It's not a bad thing. I like the fact that there's a lot of different tribes here, but because of our natures and because of our history, that can be a pretty difficult thing to actually work out. I mean, the sept is still working out how to make a truly unified, fully, I wouldn't say multi-tribal, more than it is full tribal, because it's supposed to involve every tribe by its very nature, or rather is the intent. That's still being worked out. That's, it's a vision that has not yet been fully realized.
Well, Raya, as you said, those sorts of things at the upper echelons are called politics, and seeing as you're at the upper echelons, she'll hop up and pat Jacob on the shoulder. I'll leave you to that. Anyway, she'll look over at Ancestor's Fire. You want to come meet the girls?
Sure.
Follow me then.
Tell me about that auto shop, because I'll need the details for that if we're going to work out this plan.
I will get you a portfolio post haste, Raya.
Right. I'll go sort out the thing with the water and the weapons on my end.
And Cammy will sort of nod in the direction towards the Bronx and begin to lead Ancestor's Fire that way, I guess?
Yeah, he follows.
All right. And they exit stage left.
As they're walking away, Ancestor's Fire kind of whispers in Cammy's ear. He just gave a very long-winded answer to yes.
He does that, but it's okay.
All right.
You just kind of have to get used to it. He outranks us both by 2 ranks, so.
Yeah, no, that's why I didn't say anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no. You're smart. I like you already. She'll pat him on the shoulder and continue walking.
Well, this one, so I'm glad you all came. If there's anything else you think you can do to help, or anything else you think you can offer, I'd fully appreciate it. As of right now, seems we've got our location. Next up, we'll be introducing ourselves to it and how to prepare it for our little trap.
I was wondering about that trap.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm not interrupting, of course, Jacob, Raya.
No, go ahead.
What do we know already of those spirals? The ones that are like the leaders? Because it would probably help if we would find as much information about them as possible and then zone in on their weak spots.
That's what I told the warder. We don't have a lot of information with spirals, but they seem to know a lot about us. Just makes me uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable. I mean, I've been looking into it for a while now. The chain of command seems to be as unstable there. Actually, far more unstable for them than it is for us. They've changed leaders quite a few times. Whereas Mother Larissa has more or less been here since she got here.
Still, yeah, I have to meet her, I guess. I don't know.
But I'm also going to look into the water about that. Obviously, we have Cammy and her camera drone. We might still have to make a few incursions into the hellhole just purely for reconnaissance. Don't think we'll have to go in too deep. But that's something I'm going to clear of the water first, if he deems it necessary.
Well, if you need assistance, I know that I am willing to help, and I believe what I've seen of the other two cubs, Garm is good, and Snowflake is a ragabash.
Well, you're all probably better at sneaking around than I am. So I ain't gonna turn down any help. But yeah, I mean that's this meeting over. I mean, if you want to chat about something else, that's fine. This was never supposed to be a board meeting or anything.
SPirla will actually just I'm gonna take my leave for now, but you need me, let me know. I'll be around.
Sure thing, I'll catch you later.
She'll nod and she'll wave goodbye to Robin and Kailani and head off.
And if everybody leaves, I think that's where we can end our scene. Thank you guys for playing. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time.